Yo, guys, welcome back again today. Today we're going to be talking about why Black Panther is going to become a woman. So if you don't know, throughout the comics, right, there's been change. Comics have been going along since, the 50s, 60s. So a lot of these characters, the stories are still being told. There's more than one character. If you see a superhero, that could change, or that superhero could change over time. It doesn't always stay the same person. I think that's what a lot of confusion is with a lot of people. But Black Panther was created by Stan Lee in 1966, if I'm correct, right? He was the first Black African character ever. He was before Luke Cage, he was before the Falcon, he was before all the other Black Marvel comic book characters. He was created and he was first, right, by Stan Lee. Now let's fast forward to 2005, right? Between 1966 and 2005, there was so many different chapters and issues of Black Panther. There's so many stories, right? There's so many different villains and relationships that Black Panther had with the Avengers. In 2005, a man by the name of Reginald Hudlin, which was a Black guy, he created Shuri, and he actually started writing for Black Panther. So if we look at the time period from 2005 to 2022, that's 17 years that Shuri has been in the story, and actually in that story she becomes Black Panther. And then we're going to sort of kind of talk why. I'm not going to go like super duper in depth. I'm going to try to make it clearer and easier in layman's term, right? As far as the story, I'm going to try to condense it. But I'm just trying to show people that obviously Shuri has been Black Panther in the comic book since 2005, right? And of course, over time, she passes away, things happen to her, but she was Black Panther, and she was the ruler to some extent over Wakanda since 2005, Volume 4, Issue 2. So in Wakanda, every year there is a tournament or a trial, a fight, right? Where citizens or people of royal family can become Black Panther. They can fight to become the next Black Panther if they win, right? And so Shuri at one point wanted to. She trained, she's from the royal family, right? Her and her brother T'Challa, which is the former Black Panther that just, in the movie, the real human being, Chad Boswick, he passed away, right? He was T'Challa. And Shuri is actually the half-sister of T'Challa. T'Challa's father, right, the former Black Panther, he actually had 3 kids and he had different wives. Training for this trial, you're part of the royal family. If I'm correct, some citizens can partake in this too as well, but I think it's just royal family. Correct me if I'm wrong. Also, once a year the trial comes up. You win this trial, you become Black Panther, right? Now with Shuri, she wanted to, in this first comic book that she was introduced, right? She wanted to become Black Panther. She grew up fighting, training, but her mom didn't want her to do it. I don't know if it was because she's a woman or not, but she didn't want her to do it. And so therefore, she locked her in a room. She put guards around her room, but Shuri outsmarted them and got away. And once she got to the trial, she was about to jump into the ring with one of the opponents, right? The opponent that was standing there, but then somebody, a man, grabbed her and threw her to the ground, or basically held her down so she couldn't get into the ring. And that's when a masked man jumped into the ring, which was T'Challa. And then obviously T'Challa beat his opponent and he became Black Panther. So after T'Challa beat the current Black Panther and became Black Panther, the country of Wakanda was actually invaded by the biggest probably villain for Black Panther in general throughout the history of Black Panther, which is Klaw, right? So Klaw comes and tries to invade Wakanda. Eventually the Black Panther, or T'Challa, right, he gets rid of Klaw. Klaw actually brings other supervillains with him, a couple other supervillains. And while this is happening, Shuri is in the Holy Mound, that's where vibranium is, right? It's like filled with vibranium, or it's vibranium inside of there. And since she was trapped in there, this is actually part of how Black Panthers get their power to some extent, right? So like the suits are made of vibranium, a lot of their weapons are made of vibranium, and vibranium, if I'm correct, is one of the strongest materials in the universe, right? And it's in Wakanda. I can't really remember the backstory about how vibranium got to the planet of Earth. I can't really remember. I don't know if it was an asteroid that hit or something of that nature, but the process is, or at least when you become a Black Panther, it's a mix of things, right? So like there's the vibranium that gives you superhuman strength, speed, things of that nature. But then there's also Bast, which is the panther god of the Wakandan people, right? And if I'm correct, there's actually different gods within Wakanda. So there's different tribes, and I think they have different gods. The mountain tribe in Wakanda actually, if I'm correct, has a gorilla god. I could be wrong about that. But a lot of people in Wakanda pray to the panther god. Bass is the one that also grants them certain powers as well. And if you watch the last Thor Love and Thunder movie, it explains the hierarchy and tiers of the different gods, right? In the Marvel Universe, the top god would be Zeus, like in Greek mythology, right? But also Odin, which is Thor's dad, right? He, at time throughout the comic books, throughout the different, over the decades, him, Odin, and Zeus have fought with each other. Thor has fought with Zeus. Thor has fought with Hercules, which that's probably what the next movie is going to be about. Zeus and Hercules, maybe, right? Fighting Thor because he disrespected the gods and did some stuff that he wasn't supposed to do. It actually has Bas in there, which is a woman, right? Or like the form that she takes, or the god takes when in human form, is a woman, but it's a panther god. And so the panther god, Bas, and actually the herb that they eat in Wakanda, those are the things that give Black Panther the extra agility, speed, strength, as long as with their suit, and then obviously the technology that is made with vibranium and or just obviously smarts in general. But it's interesting to note that in the Marvel movies, it makes it seem like Shuri is super duper smart and T'Challa is smart but not as smart. But if I'm correct, in the comic books, T'Challa is actually one of the smartest characters in the Marvel universe. But what's interesting, to sort of kind of condense the story, is that obviously Shuri hates Klaue because he killed T'Challa and Shuri's father, and also because he always tries to constantly attack Wakanda as well. So yeah, she wants to be Black Panther. And it's funny because when she was growing up, it was always sort of kind of understood that the men in the royal family would become the next Black Panther, but the times that she was allowed to train, she really wanted to become the Black Panther. So it's really interesting in that case. So to condense the story, eventually Black Panther, which is T'Challa, goes into a coma, right? And when he goes into a coma, eventually Shuri takes the mantle of being the Black Panther. And then she went to talk to the Panther God, but the Panther God rejected her from being the Black Panther. So a little bit after that's happening, T'Challa is still in a coma, and he's in between, he's like in limbo. So he's in between the living world and death, right? And so death is eventually trying to like pull him into basically dying, right? And so what happens is, a lot of people don't realize this too, is that eventually T'Challa, or Black Panther, and Storm, right, the X-Men Marvel Storm, they eventually marry and they have a relationship. So eventually Storm tries to go, and Storm comes to Africa, and Storm, if I'm thinking correctly, she goes to like a voodoo doctor, and the voodoo doctor basically makes up a potion or a spell that she can actually go into the spirit world, right? And try to grab T'Challa's spirit back and bring it to his body. And so while she's doing that, she eventually goes there to talk to T'Challa and Black Panther. And Death eventually says to Black Panther that somebody has to stay. So it's either Storm has to give her soul, or T'Challa, right? Black Panther has to give his soul. Black Panther didn't want to do that because he loved Storm. So basically he told Storm, no, I'm not giving up. Like, I don't want you to give up your soul to stay here and die so I can go back to the living world. So during that time period, there was another tribe in a different part of Africa that figured this out about T'Challa and Black Panther, that he was in a coma, right? And so therefore they did some type of magical potion to where they brought back a vampire. I know it sounds crazy, but a vampire, and this vampire is super duper strong. If you think about Morbius in the Marvel world, he's like 10 times more deadlier than Morbius. Actually, if I'm correct, he's almost immortal. It's hard to kill him, but he's a vampire that's from a different dimension, and then he comes into ours. The African tribe summons him, and then once he's summoned, he actually goes off and he tries to kill the Black Panther and other characters in the Marvel comic books, right? And so Shuri knows that she cannot kill this vampire. She knows she cannot kill him, right? He's too powerful, he's too strong, because she doesn't have the blessings and powers from Bas, right? Because the Panther God doesn't accept her as being Black Panther, doesn't think that she's worthy enough. So what happens eventually is that Shuri uses her brain, and she leaves the vibranium, if I'm correct, back in the city somewhere, right? In the city of Wakanda, the capital city of Wakanda, to basically chase her. And she has a magic spell or a potion that she had. I can't remember if she got it from somebody or she made it. But either way, she has a magic potion or spell, and she makes the vampire chase her. Now, while the vampire is chasing her, he's beating her up. Like, he's besting her in every way. He's faster than her. He's beating her up because she doesn't have the other half of what makes a Black Panther, which is the power from the Panther God, right? So what Shuri does with her plan is she tricks the vampire. She takes the vampire into the death realm, or maybe dimension. I don't really know exactly what it is, but to death, right? To a different realm or dimension. And once they get there, Death sees this overly powered vampire, right? And then Shuri, and basically Death takes the vampire's soul, or takes the vampire in return, giving back Black Panther, T'Challa, and Storm so they can come back to the living world, right? And so once this happened, Shuri was looked at as being or she was deemed as being worthy by the Panther God of Wakanda, because she showed that she went to go save her brother and Storm, and that she put family first. And this is just sort of kind of a little bit of a rundown of how Shuri became Black Panther. Shuri actually became Black Panther for a while, and she did a lot of different things, and she actually eventually died, if I'm correct. She died. She went into the ancestor realm, right, where all the Black Panthers go. All the Black Panther ancestors are ancestors of royalty of Wakanda, or just, I think, any ancestors maybe from Wakanda. They go to that plane, right, or that reality, or that realm, right, or dimension. And when she gets there, I think eventually T'Challa takes the herb again, and he connects with the ancestors in the spiritual world, and so therefore he talks to her, and I think at some point he brings her back to life. And the reason that he could bring her back to life was because her body, I can't exactly remember, but something with her body, that her body got preserved in this reality, in our world, and there was some type of either potion or chant or something that they put on it to where they could bring her soul back to the real world, and eventually she came back to life in this world. So I just want to talk about a little bit. I'm not an expert, of course, on Marvel Comics, and I'm trying to condense something that has happened for a long time now, over 17 years, right? I'm trying to condense it, and I'm not even trying to condense it in the best way. There's probably videos that you can watch that are way better explained. And I just want to talk about it. People have been asking me, like, yo, why is Black Panther a woman now? Like, is it have to do with the times and how people think now and all this kind of other stuff? And as much as I will say, there's a lot of Marvel movies that have been trashed, that have messed up a lot of women that are superheroes backstory, because there's a lot of dope women in Marvel, especially in X-Men, that have dope backstories. Like Captain Marvel, they messed up Captain Marvel. Like, I couldn't even watch the whole Captain Marvel movie. I couldn't even watch the whole thing because it wasn't good to me. After like 20-30 minutes, I'm like, yeah, this wasn't good, right? But like Captain Marvel, she had a long backstory, and they sort of kind of just skipped over it, which is interesting why they would do that. Maybe they're going to go back and do it again. But a lot of women in the Marvel universe have like dope backstories, and that's what made them so popular and so amazing, is their actual full story and their backstory. And I think a lot of people obviously are getting into it. I'm not going to front. When I was a kid, yeah, like, I was into Marvel somewhat. I was into like certain things, but it wasn't like how I'm into anime. It wasn't that deep, and I'm actually getting into it deeper. But like I said, I'm more of an anime head than I am even a Marvel person. Even though I like Marvel, I'm getting more into it now than I ever was in my whole life, especially with the comic books, which a lot of them are really dope. But with all that being said, this has been going on since 2005. I just wanted people to know that, because people keep asking me, like, they wanted me to talk about Black Panther. They actually wanted me to do a review on the movie trailer and stuff like that. But that is why Shuri is the new Black Panther. If Chad Boswick wouldn't have died, would she have been Black Panther so quickly? Probably not. Like, it probably would have been a long time. It might have been 10 years, or until he didn't want to play the part anymore, that she probably would have became Black Panther. But she became Black Panther because of that story of him being in a coma, basically. And it's not that she never didn't want to become Black Panther. It was just that because she was a woman and there was men within the royal family in Wakanda, it was sort of kind of looked at as like, hey, like, the men are going to take the Black Panther mantle, right? In the Marvel world, people have a huge debate about these things. But hey, I had like 5 people ask me in the last week, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make a video about it, a quick backstory, right? Not absolute. There's videos that do way better job, but a quick backstory to just let people know, like, yeah, Shuri was Black Panther. She's been Black Panther since 2005, to be honest with you, but she has become Black Panther. So there's that. So yo guys, please like and subscribe, turn on the bell notifications so you get all my video. Add me on all social medias, which is African Network, which is Instagram, Twitter, SoundCloud, Snapchat, Facebook, and TikTok. Each one teach one. Always love each other, always learn from each other. And yo guys, until next time, peace. One love.